Hello guys, this is me again, Abdurrahman Gilal, and in this short presentation, I will be just giving you the same concept that we learned in our previous presentation, that was inheritance. But I will be actually discussing an example that how we can use different scenarios in order to work with the inheritances. So I thought to discuss course, student, and professor concepts, and how we can actually work on like if we have got a course, then the course is not standalone, that a course usually has to have some professors who are teaching the course, and there are some students who are learning the course. So basically, they have to combinedly work together to be a complete scenario. So today's presentation, I will be trying to discuss about this type of thing. So let me quickly draw something to explain you the scenario first. Then I can explain you the how can we actually code for that to implement that type of scenario, right? So let's say, okay, so let's say, okay, so this is our, I would say, course. So as I said to you that the course is not only, you know, learned by students, but there are some professors who are teaching the course. And there are some how to say students who are learning the course, and there are some other supporting staff. But today, in today's topic, we will not be talking about staff, but we will be just talking about professors and students, right? So um, when I talk about course, I am basically saying there is a name of the course, and there is a name of the course, and there is a code of the course, such as COP3337 is the code, and the name is, let's say, programming 2. So let's say programming 2 COP3337. So these are just examples. So we take the properties such as name and code, and the courses are most of the time taught by professor, so we are not just going into the detail. So and then like when I teach this course, so I basically extends the course, and when someone learns the course, they also extends the course. So students may be more than 30, 40, 50, I don't know how many. So how many students, like if we do not actually implement the inheritance concepts, this is going to be a big problem for us, that every time we have to create different class for them. This is the beauty of using Java, that we can reuse the code. So these are certain properties which are reusable properties. So what I mean from here, that all the students have to have name and code for the, let's say, course. So students will be actually directly accessing, and the professor will be accessing, so we can avoid the duplication in the code, and we can reuse the code in a nicer way, right? So that's all looks like this, that we have to have a course as the class, and then we have child class, like this is the base class, and these are my child classes. So child, in previous example, we learned only one child, but now we are going to learn if we have more than one child, right? So give me a second. I quickly stop the video and I turn on the compiler to run the code. Yes, guys, this is, I have just already typed the code for you to, for us to save some time. So I have created a class called course. So from the entirety, you can clearly see that when you have any class that is being basically inherited, so it gives you an indication that there are two inheritors. So which are those? The professor and the students, because I have already finished it. So that's why it's showing us. Like if you wanted to see the usages, they tell you exactly where it uses it. So what I have done is then I have created two properties, such as course name, as I discussed, and a course code, and I kept them private so that we do not let students or professors to manipulate this. So we just wanted to make sure that they are using them, but they are not actually, how to say, knowing exactly data available in this class. So definitely we have to create a constructor. This is publicly available. So we receive the name from the caller. So it could be, once again, if you see, it could be the professor or students, both can call this, and then both will actually be passing the values through the constructor, and the constructor will assign values to to these two private variables. So they are not going to be accessed by the callers because these are private. So this access modifier will restrict the use of field course name and field course code. So make sure that you have already understood the concept of private and the public and the protected, which I have already discussed in the previous presentation. So if you got some confusion, you can go back and watch my that video. So we got two methods called get course name. So if caller is asking me what is the name of the course, I should not better give them direct access to the variable, but I can give them the return. So there's a method called course name and there's a method called get course code. So how it looks like, so if you want to see that, give me a second to draw well, how to say the class. So I'm gonna go here so that even if we change, it's not gonna affect our code here. So here, this course is called course. This class is called course class, and there are two properties. Both of them are minus. You should remember that private is always minus and public is plus, right? One is called course name. Sorry about this drawing, and then the course code. So both will be here. And then we've got a method called two methods. One is the get course name, get course name, and then we got get course code. That's all. These are two methods, right? So these two methods of this, and so we could see these are private, so we cannot actually let anybody use this. So nobody will be accessing them. But these are public ones. So both of them are public. So if someone wants to know about the course name or someone wants to know about the course code, they can access them. And there's a by default one that is called constructor. So the constructor is course. So this is always there, which even if we want to do that or we don't want to do that, so this will be there. So, okay. So this is the first class that's done, and then we are going to create another class that is called student class. So you are the student, for instance. So how you actually get the access of the parent class, that is called the course class. You have used the keyword called extend, and then you have used the word course. So the course is the name of this class we have already seen, and then this is the private. Once again, that means the student has some field which are private. That's called student name and student ID. So student name and student ID will always be kept private within this class. So any caller cannot actually access them. So once again, there is a constructor that is called student constructor. So string, course name, course code, and student name and student ID. So anybody which is calling student class, they have to pass these four parameters in order to use the constructor student, class student. So we can also make a constructor without any argument, but we are going to restrict it. So just to understand the concept of inheritance. So we already discussed in our previous presentation that the super is basically going to call the superclass constructor. So superclass constructor, what I mean is this one, this course one that is here, or this one. So this is like when we say super. So because we know that student is extending the course, so courses constructor is also known course, but it's not. We did not make any object yet, so it's for us is a predefined method that helps us to actually pass the values to the constructor. So if we create object here, like here, we also can do that, but with that way, we are going to create a has a relationship as we discussed the is a relationship and a has a relationship. So if I make a object within any method, any class, so that object will actually be bound, so tightly coupled. So each time that method is being is class or method is being called, has to have the parent class. So this will make it tightly coupled, which is not a good thing. Sometimes in Java programming language or any object-oriented programming languages, because we have to make sure that the classes are independent so that they can just use each other. But there are certain scenarios where you cannot avoid them. So I will give you another presentation on is a relationship and has a relationship. So this is an example that if I you wanted to make an object here and pass these two values to the object, so it's going to be fine that we still can assign values to the parent class. But with this way, the relationship will be has a relationship, which is called composition relationship, which makes the class tightly coupled. That's what we have so far understood. But with this way, super method, we do not actually make any objects. So it still remains a is a relationship. Okay, so the call this calls the superclass constructor. So and this assign values to. If you go back and see, the course constructor has two values called course name and course code. So if you go back and see, yeah, it's true. It's two values. So basically, this constructor will fill up the need of this. And there are remaining two values called student name and student ID, and both of them are private, so we cannot actually use the other way but to call this dot as student name and this dot student ID. So this will assign the value. So this way we have this constructor completely ready and all set. So four values we receive, two we pass through the super constructor and the superclass constructor, and two we assign here. So this constructor actually fulfills the need. And then it has a get student name and return again because this is a private, this is student is a private, so it's not a good thing to just let people not to have the access to their names, but to have the access to the method, which are public methods. The same thing gets student ID. So how will it look like? So let me draw that. And the same thing will happen to the professor, that the professor will have professor name and the department. And then the professor will also call the constructor where there will be four fields like course name, course code, professor name, and department. So the two things will be passed through the superclass constructor because yes, the professor is also extending the course, and these two remaining fields will be passed through this dot professor name, and then these are both private. So if somebody wants to take the professor name, they should call the method called professor get professor name. And if they want to know the department of the professor, they must be calling the method called get department. Right, so that's all. And then how to test this, so we will discuss later. Let me quickly draw that and how it will look like here. So just to give you a quick idea that we discuss here. So give me a second. Excuse me. Yeah. So let me just start from the student. So we remember the student will have two things, and the get name is a method, and the get ID is it. I'll say another method. So how will it look like? So we got this. I draw here. Let me make it student here. As soon as the student is using the word called extends, so basically this extends this. So all the properties here will be part of this, and there are two important properties which are like a student name, which are private, student name plus student, sorry, minus student ID, student ID. So both of them are private, so nobody can access them directly. So there is a method called public method, which is called get student name. If you wanted to know a student name, get student name. And the plus called get student ID. So this method will help you to get a student ID, and there will be a constructor by default constructor that's called student. And it has four parameters. So these are the parameters we have to discuss. So we know that every time the super is called, this get student will actually have the connection with this. And this is called the constructor. By default, it's a constructor. So it will automatically call this constructor, and this constructor will assign values to this. So if somebody wants to access the name and so they can use this one. So this is how it looks like. The same thing will happen for the professor. So professor class will look like this. Professor has professor name, which is also private. Sorry, I'm sure I'm using shortcuts. So professor department. So department. So these are both private, and then we are using gate professor name is a method, which is a public method, and the gate department, DPT I'm making, so that's it. And then the last one is the by default, that's called professor constructor, which is usually not displayed, but we can keep it. So every time professor is actually extending this course, so professor extends this course. So basically, it's trying to take the properties from course method. So this is how it looks like. Let me know if you got any confusion. Otherwise, we are all set to use it. So now let's try to run it and see like how it looks like. So that's all we knew then, and now we are going to call them in the public method call, sorry, class called course test. Remember that it has to have the course test. If you use a public keyword, so make sure that that is the only class that is basically going to have main method. If you have used public 2, 3 times, it will be showing you error if with a class name, sorry. So this is the main method we call. So first we create a student object. So student is a student, and we pass 4 values. Java is going to be learned, and then COP337, and then the name is Alice, and our student ID is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. So you can make as many as students that you want. And the professors, let's say a professor has the same thing, professor. So this is the constructor, and we pass all the same values. So that's one of the things. And then if you wanted to print student get student name. So with this way, we cannot get the name of the students directly from the field. So we have to use this method as we discussed. And if you want to take the ID of student, we have to use the method called get student ID. And then the course name will be also getting taken from the course method. So that's called course name, and that's called course code. So both things, this half part will be taken from student class, and half part will be taken from course class. So two classes are making one print. So the same thing happens for the professor. You're going to see that professor department or name will be taken from the professor class, and this how to say course name and course code will be taken from the course class. So let's run it, and let's make sure that everything is fine and everything works fine. So you're gonna see. Yep, so student has the Alice and ID is 1, 2, 3. This is what we have passed manually, but if you want to make it dynamic, you can create array to receive so many student number array list. It's up to you. I just wanted to give you an example of how to say the inheritance. That's why I'm not making it a little bit complicated. So it's just a quick one. And then this one is Java programming and CRP337. It's the same thing, Professor Bob. Department of Computer Science, and this remained the same. So because I passed both the same. So I hope it makes some sense. If you got any confusion, please do not hesitate to ask me. You also can make this code, I would say, dynamic by taking list of students from, from the program and list of professor as well. There can be 3 professor and 20 students, 100 students, so they can be teaching. So how are you gonna do that? So I'm gonna give you this hint. You can create array list or array where you will be asking user how many students are enrolled in this or what's the capacity of this class. So you can actually add students as well as you can add the professor. So and then you can take the values from user by utilities called system.in scanner system.in, so you can receive the values. So if you got any question, please do not hesitate to drop me a comment. Good luck, sir.